and welcome to this week's video, which is going to be completely unedited, not fancy or anything, but I am in our new house. We just moved, and because of that, don't have Wi-Fi, and instead of not uploading at all because not having Wi-Fi, it was just delaying everything, I'm just going to do a Q&A from Instagram, and you guys sent in so many questions, so we're going to do like rapid fire, as many questions as I can answer in 25 minutes, and yeah, let's go ahead and get started. If you are new here, my name is Maggie and I'm 27 years old. I am a first-year medical student at the University of Colorado, and I live with my boyfriend George and dog Oakley. So, first question. Okay, let's start the timer, because right after this I have to get back to studying. Okay, how is it living with an SO who is not in med school? I'll be doing the same soon. So, congrats on starting med school soon. One of my favorite things, one of my least favorite things is on Fridays, every Friday we take a quiz. And in the hallway when we're waiting for our Vista session to start, like a 1-hour talk, all I can hear, like if I'm standing upstairs downstairs there's like crowds of everybody talking and like people upstairs are talking, and all you hear is like, what'd you put for that one answer? What'd you put for this answer? Oh my gosh, like that quiz was so hard. Oh my gosh, like I didn't, like blah, blah, blah. Like 110% only conversations about the quiz we just took every Friday. And so, like, I just want somebody to be like, hey, it's gonna be the weekend. What are you doing for the weekend? Like, talk about fun things, I'm sure there's people actually talking about fun things, but like, if you listen to the chatter right after our quizzes, that's what you hear. And one time, actually, I did have a friend. It was right before like maybe our first ever exam, and we had no idea what to expect. So especially people were like, what do you think it's going to be like? What do you think the questions are? Blah, blah, blah. And I just turned over to my friend and I was like, I just want to talk about fun things. And she was like, what are your plans for the weekend, Maggie? And I was like, that's what I want. Anyway, all that long explanation to say, the best thing about living with a significant other is that you can walk in, come home, and not have somebody like stressing about the test you just took or you're gonna take, or like what the questions were like, or like what you're learning. Like, you get to not think about med school while you're with them, unless they ask like how to go or you want to talk about it. But if you don't want to, like, you can talk about normal life things. You can cook dinner together and talk about what you're gonna do this weekend or how their work was. So I would say that aspect is the best. If I were like 19 and single, definitely I would just have a roommate, like 3 girl roommates, and we would just have a blast, and we would probably talk about med school a lot, but I'm sure other things. I think that'd be a blast too, but I would say that's my favorite thing of living with a significant other and like kind of what it's like. Second, during like end of block finals are fine, but when we take anatomy practicals and our docs assessment and we have our compass weeks with all that in one, oh, that's busy time. And so basically I'm just like, when we're planning groceries on Sundays, I'm just like, I'm not cooking anything this week. If you want that for dinner, you're gonna have to cook it, kind of thing. Like, I'm not adding anything extra to my plate this week. So that's just one thing that's good to like let them know, like, hey, it's about to be busy season. Just plan accordingly. So yeah, hopefully that helps. That wasn't a very good rapid fire answer. Okay, let's see, next one. How old are you and what specialties are you leaning towards? I'm 27, and my top 3 interests have always been surgery, like trauma surgery I think would be so cool. OB/GYN with lots of surgery, and like complicated pregnancies I think would be cool. High risk pregnancies. And third is emergency medicine for sure. I worked as an EMT, so like of course. But also my favorite block in med school so far has been musculoskeletal and integumentary. We call it MSK. And I surprisingly loved it. My favorite block yet. The only one I had like significantly more interest in than others. All the others, not like I disliked any of them. I just like was like, okay, this is cool. But like MSK, I was like, oh my gosh, this is so fun. So now I'm like, oh, should I revisit orthopedics route? Which I've already shadowed an orthopedic surgeon like for a whole summer, like 40 hours or something or more. And I don't want to go into a competitive specialty, but I liked MSK so much, I think it's definitely worth revisiting. Okay, what tips do you have when studying to not get distracted? Number 1 thing is putting my phone out of my room. And 2, freedom is helpful. It's kind of annoying because then when you actually need to like go on YouTube to watch a video for pre-work, it's like, you can't go here. But actually, okay, but overall, freedom is really helpful and you can sync it to all your devices. Second is like putting in headphones. Third is writing out a schedule for your day. For me, that just is so helpful, because I'll be like, okay, between these two times, like this is what I need to get done, and by 10 a.m. I need to have this and this done. And if I keep out my schedule in my view, like I have my iPad here and I'm like constantly checking it to see if I'm on track, like that is huge to not get distracted. And it's like whatever, and if something pops in my head while I'm studying, I will have it's really helpful to have a notepad by me, and I'll just write it down so that I don't have to worry like, oh, I really need to remember to email about my MSA project. Like I need to send that email back, but I'm in the middle of Anki. Instead of then exiting out of Anki and sending the email then, I'll just write it down on my notepad, and then I can revisit that when I'm done with my Anki. So those are a few tips that really help me. And just finding an environment that is helpful to study in. Like if I sit on the couch, I'm gonna be less productive than if I'm in my office, kind of thing. Okay, how do you budget for traveling while still in med school? I had a solid budgeting system when I was in Seattle, because I was working as a nanny and I was making money, and it was like fun to budget and like make a little game out of how much I could save and how many loans I could pay off. But I enrolled in this course like a year ago. That was an insane amount of money, and it was impossible to budget while I was paying the monthly payments for that course. It's finally over. So in the next 2 months, I'll definitely have a very granular budget now that that's over and it's like realistic to pay for everything. And this is blog expenses related, not just personal expenses, but it's all mixed together. So I just don't have a budget at all right now. But 2 months, I'll do like for sure a detailed video on our budget, because we were so good at it in Seattle. Like we would review it every week, and then we would like do a monthly review, and then like we were so good. But right now I don't have a granular one like that. The main thing as far as budget is you get your loan money in lump sums. Like for us, our cost of living is $2,400 a month, and you can take out as much up to that amount as you want. You could take out $1,000 a month, or you could just take out the full $2,400 a month. So let's use a different number. Let's pretend it's $3,000 a month. So in January, you would get like $15,000 deposited into your bank account for the next 5 months. So basically, you could do it month by month or like the whole lump sum. Basically, you just subtract out like your fixed expenses no matter what you're gonna pay. That's like rent, groceries, gas, and bills, monthly bills that you have every month, like phone bill and car payment, things like that. Just times that by 5, your monthly payments, subtract out that from the $15,000, and whatever's like left over, divide by 5, and that's like how much monthly you have to spend for fun money. Obviously there may be more things you want to add, and you can add like a buffer of like $300 a month for like extra expenses, just so you have a buffer kind of thing. But just play with the numbers that way and see how much extra you have per month, and then that's a great way to see like what kind of money you have to work with, and then how much you want to save each month or spend each month, kind of thing, for traveling and fun stuff. Okay, next question. Where can pre-meds find a reliable mentor? Struggling to network as an undergrad. So if your undergrad doesn't have a great pre-med program, like mine did, but I was a chem major and the biology department was the one that like had all the pre-med stuff, I would say Instagram is a great place. I know that like pre-med mentors, I'll link it below, because her name's Lily. She has an Instagram account, and they have this pre-med mentor thing, and that sounds like a great resource. I honestly don't know much about it, but honestly, the best thing, Dr. Gray, like watch all of his YouTube videos, listen to his podcast, read his books. You will know so much about the pre-med process. Like I wouldn't worry too much about networking other than like get to know your professors for letters of rec. But as far as like a mentor, as in like how do I apply to med school, how do I be successful in this process, hit up all of Dr. Gray's resources. On Instagram, it's Medical School HQ. Okay, how long did it take for you to make friends? Moving in a few weeks, yay! And super nervous about that. So, not long at all. And I remember talking about this same thing with one of my friends, and she said she was really nervous about this too. But basically, orientation week is like the most exhausting in the best way week of your life in med school. Every minute you're meeting somebody new. It's like, oh my gosh, hi, like my name's Sub, and then you go through, where are you from? What was your major? Blah, blah, blah. What are your interests? Oh, you like that too? What a small world. Like I met this one girl, we ended up having the same equestrian team coach that I had in Mississippi College and she had in Stanford, and we chatted for like an hour. But anyway, orientation week, you meet so many of your classmates and you have so much time to chat with them. And if you're like my school, we have smaller groups. So like my compass group meets every Wednesday and it's a group of 8 of us, and like a lot of my friend group like comes from my compass group, and there's other people that aren't in my compass group, but then like, anyway, you meet so many people that first week in orientation week. Plus, you'll usually have like a Discord or group me where the whole class is in it, and you can be like, hey, who wants to go hiking before orientation starts next week? So definitely do that and just like meet people before classes even start. That's something I didn't do honestly enough of. But we also, too, even before orientation, they set up like 2 volleyball fun meetups where we could come with our significant others and just hang out in this cute little Cheeseman park or something, play volleyball. And so we got to meet classmates that way before orientation even started. So don't worry, you'll make so many friends. Would you ever consider practicing medicine in another country like Australia? Oh my gosh, yes, that's such a fun question. If you know Mama Dr. Jones, she's on YouTube and Instagram, they just moved to New Zealand recently. And yes, 100%, yes. I would love to live in New Zealand or Australia and practice medicine in the future for like 2 years or something, or forever, or like, I don't know. But also George has family in New Zealand and Australia. So for sure. And I've already mentioned this to him and he's like, oh my gosh, yes. So absolutely, that'd be so cool. I hope I make my future self really happy by actually doing that, because that'd be epic. Tips for balancing relationship and school. So with like boyfriend relationship, girlfriend relationship, friend relationships, the number one thing is just studying and having hard cutoffs for studying. Like for me, it's like 95% of the time I'm not studying past 6:30 p.m. That means I can cook dinner with George and, play with Oakley. And, if I'm going on a long walk with Oakley, I can call my grandma while I'm walking Oakley. So kind of like multitasking that way. Walks are the best for calling people. Or I was like shopping at Home Goods the other day and I called my mom. So study routine. It's all about like your routine and your hard non-negotiables and cutoffs. So definitely check out one of my recent videos. I'll try to link it below. If I say I'm going to link a few things below, then I'll probably forget to actually link it all. So you'll have to let me know in the comments if I don't actually. But the video of how to create the perfect study routine, that's solid advice. Is like determining your non-negotiables, making a schedule to make it all fit, and yeah, watch that video. You'll understand why. MacBook Air versus MacBook Pro. So honestly, neither. I love Apple products, but I also love having a touchscreen laptop. So I'm HP Spectre fan, 100%. Won't change unless the laptops become touchscreen for Apple, but I doubt they will. Also, I think Apple computers are so distracting because it has all the same apps as your phone, and that like your phone is so distracting. Why would you want that on your computer? So that's another thing I really like about the HP Spectre. It doesn't have like my messages to distract me while I'm trying to make my Anki cards during lecture kind of thing. But I love my iPad for sure, and I think that's a pro. Would you recommend applying to only one school prior to getting MCAT score back? Absolutely. You can add scores later. Yes, for sure. But get it verified. Don't wait for your MCAT score. I am also navigating med school apps with a serious SO who's going to follow me. Tips. Okay, so as far as like applying to med school, ask them where they want to live and where they absolutely like really don't want to live. So for me, I narrowed down like from all the schools that I could possibly apply to, I ruled out schools based on residency bias and stats to do my safe school list. So I would cut out schools where like my GPA, which is only a 3.3, was like not even close to like their 10th percentile kind of thing. So I ruled out a ton of schools based on those 2 factors. From there, I was at about 50-ish schools. I'm not gonna apply to 50 schools. So I showed him that list I made and I was like, hey, like cross off schools based on the locations you don't wanna live. And he was like, I really don't wanna live in Florida. So we crossed off all the Florida schools. Also, I don't even know why Florida was there, because a lot of them have residency bias, but that's the general thing that I did. I like narrowed down to 50 schools based on stats and things, and then I was like, hey, like where don't you want to go for sure? Like you would hate your life if you lived here. And so from there we did that, and then Also, just letting him know that, like, him or her know that you don't have a ton of control in the process. Like, what if I only get into a school in Des Moines, Iowa? Like, are you going to follow me? Because I'm not doing long distance. Like, let them know in advance, kind of thing, that they may, like, you can do your best to try and get into school in, like, Oregon. But OHSU has residency bias, so, like, the chances of us going to Oregon are really low. Just let them know in advance. So it kind of sucks, but you just gotta, like, let them know the process and help them understand, like, this isn't, like, super in your control unless you have, like, a 520 and a 4.0, and, like, but I was like, sorry, like, my grades aren't amazing. The chances of us going to Oregon are pretty slim. So those are my advice. Let them know the whole location deal. And okay, good questions to ask at an in-person medical school info night. Ooh, favorite question is, what is something you would change about your curriculum or about the school? Best way. Also, it's good because, one, you're not asking it in a negative way. Like, what do you hate about the school? Like, you don't want to ask, that sounds like so negative. But if you ask about, like, what would you want to change, ask them that. If they say nothing, move on to the next student to ask. That's BS. Nobody told me all the bad things about Colorado. They only told me the good. Get the bad out of them without sounding negative. So what's something you would like to change? What's something that students ask to be changed and, like, the med school actually changed based off feedback? Or do they give you guys surveys of what you like and don't like? How have they implemented what they read from the surveys? Other things, like, definitely ask about vibes, culture. Like, is this competitive? Like, do people share resources to study? You want that collaborative environment so you're happy and you have friends who you love to be with and they make you happy. So vibe, what don't you like, or what would you change? That's a huge one, honestly. And I can't think of any others because those two were the most important to me. I would say, what's the curriculum like? Ooh, are there required lectures? I personally hate required lectures. Hate it, hate it, hate it. Do you feel like the schedule allows you to have balance? Because I was at a school where the people were like, no, we have a required class from 8 to 5, and it feels like you have no freedom and you're micromanaged. Whereas I interviewed at another school and they were like, yes, like, we're done by noon and we have the afternoons to live our life, like, and do what we want with our time. So that's a huge one too. What community service did you do as a pre-med or for your med school app? So I didn't do a lot of community service. I did some volunteering. One was volunteer tutoring that I found in Seattle. Definitely Google, like, something volunteering, but based on what you like. Like, I love being around kids, even though I don't want them. I don't know why. I like to nanny and I like to tutor. I just like being, like, a role model for kids. Like, I like that. So I was like, oh, I want to tutor. Like, that's a great way to get volunteering because I'll enjoy it. And it was so fun. But then COVID happened, so I didn't do a lot. And a few years before that, I, like, volunteered at hospitals. Like, I volunteered at one in Ohio, I volunteered at one in Mississippi, and both times I was just kind of, like, sitting at the info desk and, like, helping with, like, the pre-op thing. Like, hey, like, this family come up, let's check you in. Hey, you're ready for surgery, let's walk you to this room. So not very meaningful. I didn't know at the time how to find anything good. That was more like when I was in college. So try to find something meaningful. Like, the tutoring one was, like, so much more meaningful to me because I actually got to work with a little girl. The one at the hospital was cool just because, like, I thought it was so cool to be even around a doctor. Like, oh my gosh, like, look, even though I didn't talk to them or, like, so I thought it was cool at the time, but definitely could have been, like, a little more meaningful, hands-on something. You could try and volunteer at a free clinic. But anyway, as far as what I did, it was that. Volunteering at hospitals as, like, a check-in person, service desk, pre-op area, and volunteer tutoring. Advice for a nurse wanting to pursue a career in medicine. Go for it. That's awesome. I have a couple classmates who were nurses. And same, Dr. Gray. Read all of his advice. YouTube videos, podcasts, read his books, follow him on Instagram. Just to understand, like, the process of how to tell your story and apply and be successful. Check out Road to Acceptance because that also helps you with that. So yeah, just learn the process of how to successfully apply and share your story. What is your study method for memorizing large amounts of information? Definitely that elephant thing. The elephant, I can't even, one bite, how do you eat an elephant one bite at a time kind of thing? That's like med school. So the weeks that I'm successful are the weeks where every day I wake up and do my Anki first thing in the morning. And I pay attention in lecture and I make my Anki cards. And I wake up and I do them first thing. Like, then it's like a little bit each day, and you're like slowly like getting to know it better and better through the week, versus awful weeks where like I'm just unfocused or so busy or doing something else, and like a couple days I don't do it on Anki, or like I rush through it and I don't like sit down and actually learn what I don't know well. And then like Thursday is the only real day like I'm actually doing my Anki by 8 or something. It's just, yeah. So large amounts of content for sure, a little bit every day. I do that by Anki. And second, sketchy. Oh my gosh, amazing for actually like making it stick. Amazing. Did you create a sheet of formulas needed for the MCAT? I heard they don't provide one. I personally didn't, but that's a really good strategy or thing to do if you're worried about forgetting some of the formulas, is memorize like a list of 10 that you like keep forgetting or you just want to write down, and then use your little like intro or instruction time, that first 10 minutes, to write them down before you start the test. I personally didn't do that, but definitely an option. How should I study in my first year of med school? So when you first start, for sure, just experiment. Like I just I watched YouTube videos of how students studied, and I just tried things that I thought would work for me and went from there. And it didn't take me too long. Like I first was watching like Ali Abdal's videos, and he talks about how he created like the Notion toggles and did it like a question with the toggle feature, and the answer would be under it. So I tried that the first week and I didn't really like it. And I wanted to do Anki because like with the Notion thing, then you would have to like actively choose like, okay, I'm going to study this topic today and like this topic tomorrow. Like how would you always study all the things you need? I don't know. With Anki, it's scheduled for you. You just wake up, come to your office, and it tells you what to study. So that's why I really liked Anki, but I found that out by just experimenting. So I tried Notion the first week, and you can watch the vlog from my first week of med school and see how I did that. Maybe that'll work amazing for you. But anyway, I got the idea from YouTube. You know, med students sharing their process is just amazingly helpful because you can see what they do, see what works for you, try it all out, and then funnel it down to like what just like really perfectly works for you. I think I said works for you like a lot of times. But yeah, so how should you study? I don't know. Experiment to find out. YouTube, great resource. Do I have any hobbies? Yes. I rode horses from like 3rd grade to forever. Not currently. Now that we're in a new location though, I do want to look up barns. Hopefully I'll find one here. The only one I found when we were in Aurora was like 40 minutes south, and it was just so far, and it was a weird setup, and she made me pay to work her horse that was just sitting in the pasture. Anyway, other hobbies. I like to run. I signed up for a 10K. I signed up for a half marathon with a classmate the day before our like boot camp of 2nd year starts. Labor Day or weekend or something. So fun. I do CrossFit. I just got back into that like 6 months ago or something. I did it for like 2 years when I was living in California, and I was really obsessed and I wanted to be a games athlete. I was like, I'm not gonna reapply to med school yet. I'm just gonna be a games athlete for a while and then I'll go to med school. But now I'm not that intense. I just like it to like, basically I just want to meet friends and be in shape and not be out of shape. And for sure, DIY projects will be my new hobby because I already have a few in mind. George, I convinced him to get like a tool set so I can do a bunch of DIY projects and create furniture, and like, oh, I'm so excited. And we have a garage now, and yeah, so DIY projects, like full on furniture, like cutting, sawing wood, painting it, doing all the fun things. Like, I'm so excited. I think that's it. There's probably more. Honestly, I like a lot of things. Oh, new hobby too. Colleen Hoover books, reading her books. Amazing. Verity is my top for sure. Okay, how did you know you needed multiple gap years? So I had a total of 4 gap years, and I didn't know I needed it. I applied to med school in 2017 when I was like a junior, so I would have like started right the summer after I graduated college. But I only applied to 4 schools, didn't know the process, applied late, did all the things wrong, somehow got one interview at Case Western, got on the wait list, and when I graduated college, I was still on the wait list in this limbo. And we had recently went to San Diego for spring break, so me and my friend were just like, let's move to San Diego and live our lives while we're in limbo. And I didn't want to reapply without knowing if I was going to get pulled off the wait list. I didn't have that motivation. And I also knew that like I didn't know what to do exactly to improve my app. I didn't want to just reapply with the same app. I needed to improve something. But anyway, moved to San Diego, didn't get pulled off the wait list, did grad school, but then like financially couldn't continue. I was in the Bay Area and I just financial aid wasn't coming through. It just wasn't working. So I only did 2 quarters, and then I had to stop and go back to San Diego. And then I was like, well, what the heck? Like, the GPA thing was the only thing I knew that I needed to improve. And then I only did 2 quarters. I didn't finish the thing, and I thought that was bad. Turns out it was fine, but like I didn't know that at the time, and I just didn't know what to do from there. So I just lived my life for 2 years. I was in San Diego just living my best life. I became obsessed with beach volleyball. Like it was so fun. I went to like coffee shops, and I was by the ocean, and I was just living my best life. And then eventually I moved to Seattle with George, and I got this nanny job that I didn't like at all, and it just flipped a switch. I had like a little quarter life crisis, and I'm like, oh my God, like what am I doing with my life, blah, blah, blah. Like I'm ready to reply, and like just like having that happen naturally, where that flipped the switch for me when I was in a job I didn't like, I just had all the motivation in the world to do anything I needed to do to be able to reapply again, and I did it in like 9 months later. So didn't know, it just happened. I just went with the flow. What's your study routine like during the summer? So we have should we keep going? There's so many more questions. I guess this will just be really long. I think it'll be fun. Hopefully you guys like it. Okay. Let's see. Hobbies. What's your study routine like during the summer? So we have a 6-week summer break, and then that's like the last summer we have forever, I guess. And I do not plan to study since it's our last summer forever. I will be living my best life again for those 6 weeks. Studying and scheduling tips for first year med students. Ooh, yeah, check out that Create Your Perfect Study Routine video that I have, and that's my top tips. And I actually like show you how I create my study routine. I'm getting married, yay, a week before the end of year 1 of med school. Will that cause issues? No, it shouldn't. That's so fun. Just know that like, the first week of med school might be a little like, like I'm still like on the high, like just getting married and I'm starting med school, and it might be like a lot, but like you'll get through it and it'll be so cool. And it can be your fun fact during orientation week. And also during orientation week, we had a classmate who his twins were being born. He had like to leave something early that day because he was like, my wife's in labor and my twins are being born. So, and somebody else like I think got married during our orientation week. So yeah, that's amazing. Congrats. Okay, one myth about med school you thought was true until you got there. I thought for sure that it would just be like insanely hard, like and impossible to study, and like how would I like pass, and just crazy, crazy hard, and like impossible to have a life. And that wasn't true at all, as you can tell from my previous vlogs. I have not failed anything. I've never been like a crazy smart straight A student, and I'm passing, so yeah, it's fine. You just gotta like have a good routine. Honestly, what I've learned instead of that myth is that med school is really just about time management, because it's not only just like what you're learning and all the content. It's like getting in your 20 hours of service learning, getting in your 40 hours of preceptorship, making sure that you're doing research and staying on top of that if you're doing research, doing club responsibilities if you're part of a club, if you're like president of the class, like doing all that, also having a life, also blah, blah, blah. So it's like the key to med school is time management, not being like uber smart, in my opinion, because I'm not uber smart. Things to buy for first year of med school. First off, shout out to Emily who got pulled off the waitlist recently. Literally so excited for her. So excited. That was just the coolest thing ever to see on my stories. Anyway, so first year of med school, honestly, the only things you need are a reliable laptop and business casual clothes. You wear business casual clothes so often in your first year. First off, we were told like 2 days before orientation started that we needed to wear business casual clothes every day of orientation. And now, like even not in orientation, 1 to 4 times a week we're wearing business casual. So anytime we're around SPEDAs during docs, which is like the actor patients, we have to wear business casual. And when we go to our preceptorship at the hospital, a lot of them you wear business casual. And anytime on Fridays, if we have a Vista session that includes patient panel, we're supposed to wear business casual. So business casual clothes and reliable laptop. That's honestly it. As far as like other things that would be good to do, get your shots before orientation starts. Get that done early. And second, start making a list of things you want to make that would like make your life easier in med school, and like if you have a summer birthday, like ask for it for your birthday, or like for white coat, ask for white coat gifts kind of thing. So like espresso machine, a nice comfy office chair, nice desk, you know, get some gifts that are like expensive and you would have to splurge on, but like, you know, let your family know what you want. I didn't do that. I had a lot of money saved up as a nanny, but that would be a good thing to do. Get a base bag. I got that for my white coat gift from George's mom. Oh, the best.